Welcome to the Introduction to Criticism class. This is the first material about the nature of criticism. Let's explore.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am the Nur Rahman here as the captain of this channel. Thank you for clicking the like and subscribe. I'm going to remind you as well for this video to forget to like and subscribe my channel so you don't miss all of the videos I create for this channel, especially for the course of Introduction to Criticism. So in this video as well, I made it as the contribution for fulfilling my course in Introduction to Criticism class. So this is actually the first material to be introduced to you, ladies and gentlemen, about the nature of literature and the nature of criticism. So how's life, ladies and gentlemen? I'm expecting all of you always in good condition, stay healthy and avoid the COVID-19. Well, in this video, in this meeting, I'm going to take you into some considerations about the nature of literature and the nature of criticism itself. Actually, this is the first material, as I have said before. This is the first material in Introduction to Criticism class. So, as the first material, actually, for those who are taking this course, particularly for the students of English department in Faculty of Adab and Humanities, Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Gunung Jati, Bandung. So you will find in this book, actually, my book, that is the first chapter, who is talking about the nature of literature and the nature of criticism itself. So let's explore for this chapter 1. Actually, I have written all of the things related to this first material in relation to the context of what is literature, what is criticism, and how we can find the correlations between literature and criticism itself, and also how to get some basic approaches to see literature from the theoretical standpoint, because this is the actually, this is the thing that is really important for us to know about the criticism, or more particularly in this course, Introduction to Criticism, to see literature or to see the literary text from most theoretical standpoint. And I'm going to take you again and again here in the nature of literature and criticism. So actually, when you want to understand for the very first time what is criticism, actually, you have to find the answer from the question, what is literature? So from time to time, from ages to ages, I think, there are also numerous people who always define the literature is, define and give some more explanation, huge explanation, I think, about the literature itself. But something to be remembered, I think, for you who take this class especially. So, literature for the very first time is actually a kind of writing. and derived from the Latin language, litera, meaning the a letter of the alphabet. So here I have written here in my chapter 1, literature referred for the first time to all body of human written expression, which highly regarded in a given language and society. So it included perhaps the historical texts, it included also essays, philosophical texts, or any kind of writing, as well as poems, as well as plays, as well as novels, for example, and so on and so on, and so on and so forth. So, in this class, you will find that literature is for the very first time is going to be understood as writing. Let me take you an example of this text. This is a Romeo and Juliet from William Shakespeare. So I think you are familiar with this. All the people I think around the world will also be familiar with this one, because this one is what is that? A well-known text from one of the well-known texts from William Shakespeare. So I think I'd love to read for the first time to prove the example or the instance of, let's say, that this book or this work is a kind of writing. So I'd love to read a prologue. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge dragged to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclear. From forth the fatal lines of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. So from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, from the first 6 sentences in this prologue, it proves that these are writing. So from that kind of writing, meaning the construction of let's say the alphabet itself, the construction of the alphabet or the composition. But then now we can go further for the next explanation that besides this is a writing, this also a kind of text. Why is this going to be called as text? Because it composed, not only constructed by a letter of the alphabet, not only constructed by some letters of the alphabet, but you have to understand this one, that this is really composed by the composition, by some rules. Let's say the grammatical rule itself. Let's say the rules of the English language. So such thing like that. So and then after that, you have to understand that this kind of text is for the first time, perhaps not really regarded, not really highly regarded, not really considered as a good literary text, a good literary composition. No, for the first time, perhaps it was only a kind of what is that? The common popular text, the common popular, let's say, literary compositions. When we compare it to Dylan, for example, And I think Dylan also becomes only a common popular literary composition here in Indonesia. So from the firstborn, history said that this kind of text is actually not really regarded as the highly or purely literary work or literary composition, but you have to know that this is only a common one, a popular one, something like that. But then, in the historical development of, let's say, English literature, and I think you can understand also from this book that this is the history of the English literature. I know from this book that the genre that was created by William Shakespeare actually a new one, including the context of how William Shakespeare can create a new genre of the sonnet. Therefore, all of his poems, all of William Shakespeare's poems, then can be called as the Shakespearean Sonnet, which is really different from, the Petrarchan sonnet or the Italian sonnet. From each poem of William Shakespeare, you have to know and you have to notice that it always uses the let's say what is that, iambic or iambic pentameter. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, for you who have taken the course of the poetic devices, I think you will understand what is the iambic pentameter itself. So let me take an example. For example, let me note to the marriage of two minds, admit impediments. Love is not love when which is alteration finds. Or the common expression from William Shakespeare in the sonnet number, I forget the number. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate, rough wind to shake the darling parts of me. And so on and so forth. That was really kind of new genre at the time, and then also all of the text coming from William Shakespeare, including this one, became more highly regarded. Moreover, you notice also that William Shakespeare become the poet of the palace. Yes, at that time. So it also can make this text becomes more highly regarded. Even for now, we are amazed. We are amazed by the construction, by the composition of the words composed and constructed by William Shakespeare here. So that is the thing that is really related to the valued one, the taste. It is related to the taste. I'm taking here also from my writing here. Well, I cited Terry Galton here. The criteria of what can be regarded as literature then were honestly ideological. The values and tastes of the particular social class. So, the particular social class itself is defined as the society which consider the thing that is, really having the price, really having the consideration of which one is really highly regarded and which one is not. Something like that. So, any kind of writings actually can be literature, but any kind of writings also cannot be literature. The essay Sukarno's speeches, for example, I think because the construction of the language or the diction itself is really above the rate, for example, I think, so it could be highly regarded, and the construction or the composition of the language itself becomes more literary than the other speeches. Yes, I think like that one. So, therefore, because of the particular taste of the particular social class itself is a kind of transitive verb, the taste itself is a transitive verb. The value itself is the transitive verb. I think it becomes more confusing as well as illuminating. So the next criteria for literature itself, actually, so the next criteria of what is literature is actually related to the second thing. So let's say that is the kind of literature which is illuminating, but this one also becomes confusing. So illuminating for some, but confusing for others. That was, I think, the thing that can be considered as the next criteria for literature itself, to be understood more later by the context of the theoretical standpoint from the materials that we will learn, we will study in the whole materials from this introduction to criticism class. So, the second sense of literature is a highly valued writing. It's confusing, actually. Confusing for some, illuminating for others, or illuminating for some, but confusing for others. It means that when we read even one sentence from literary text, for example, so that kind of one sentence becomes, when I read, for example, again and again back to William Shakespeare's words, let's say, shall I compare thee to a summer's day, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Those two sentences, or those two lines from William Shakespeare's sonnet, for me, or to me, that those two lines are really beautiful, are really making me becomes more, touched. My heart is being touched by the sentence, by the lines, by the words, by the composition of the words. But I have no idea for the others. Perhaps that the other people will make a comment that those two sentences or those two lines are really confusing because he or they couldn't get involved to the context of the sentences or the words construction itself or themselves. So it's something like that. So actually I have written here that to be honest, any written works can be literature, as I have said before, and anything which is regarded as unquestionably literature can choose to be literature. But this anything is not without problem. In fact, many people should find more to make their writings acknowledged by people should, as the valued writing, a literature itself. So many people could find more about about literature and in this context. Many people should fight more to be regarded. Many people should fight more in their writing to be considered as men of letters, for example, or their writings can be considered as literature itself. So the problem again and again, the problem is related to the context of how the text becomes such kind of illuminating one for some, but then confusing or still confusing for others. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to continue this discussion after talking about illuminating versus confusing itself, what we want after this. So, actually, it is going to be an innocent discipline, it is going to be a natural existence when we want to understand literature, when we want to understand literary text, then criticism exists here. Criticism exists, criticism born to get involved more in understanding, in the more critical understanding of the literature itself. So, criticism is a kind of discipline. Like the literature itself, criticism is a kind of discipline, and then he comes in the natural existence, because as I have said before, because we want to understand literature, therefore criticism is something like that. So to make this social institution, literature is a social institution. I have written here in my book on page 3. Those who have got this book, I think, can open the book, page 3. So since literature is a kind of social institution, so to make this social institution more highly regarded, there should be efforts directed to the sophistication. And one of such efforts is often called literary criticism. So again and again, I'm going to say that this introduction to criticism itself is one of the efforts to make you or to guide you to understand more literature or literary text, but in the more theoretical standpoint. Okay, something like that. So I also have written here, however, criticism becomes a complex activity when it comes to the more systematizing criticism. What allows to the systematization is that literature deals with language and discourse. And secondly, literary criticism is dealt with literary discourse in which many discursive formations are included within other cultural practices. It could be linguistics, it could be pedagogy, it could be education, it could be politics, psychology, ideology, history, philosophy, and all the cultural products and all the cultural institutions in our life. So literary criticism then becomes a crucial ideological instrument, becomes an ideological instrument to get involved more in how we can systematize in understanding literature, in the way of how we can systematize in understanding literary text, something like that. So therefore, there will be an ideological encounter among the people's ideas in the process of criticizing the work, in the process of criticizing literary work, literary text itself. Ideological encounter between, for example, between the author and the reader, which is very abridged by the criticism in the middle of the author and the reader itself. Something like that. So, therefore, it also becomes the confrontation between the textual one and also the contextual one. There will be always the people who want to come to the criticism itself, which is more focusing on the textual things, the sentence, the lines, the rhyme, the rhythms, ironical statement, for example, and then what is that? The whole construction of the sentence, the whole construction of the text, the plot, the characterization, for example, and all the things related to the textual one. But there will be also the people who always, or who are more focusing their study on the contextual things, history, for example, or let's say the cultural surroundings, which can be a device, which can be a vehicle to understand the content of the work itself. For instance, again and again, I take here Romeo and Juliet, for example. Then there will be always the people who focus on the text, for example, only the construction of the text here, the construction of the words, the ironical statement, the rhyme, the rhythm, and so on and so forth. But there will always be the people also who focus on the context, the historical things which surround the text, something like that. Not only historical things, but the cultural things. It can be related to the society. Also, it can be the values. It can be any kind of things related to the people outside the text, of course. So, that is the kind that will be also called as the worldliness. Worldliness means that we are in the context of discourse. Since the literary text itself is constructed by language, therefore it is also constructed by discourse. So the things that is really important to note when we criticizing the literary work, actually, we are criticizing the discourse. We are criticizing the discourse of the world. That is the thing that can be called as the worldliness. So, what do we need next? Definition, I think you may define by yourself in defining literature, also in defining criticism, and defining the criteria of what can be regarded as literature, what can be regarded as not literature itself. So I think you can go further for those kind of definitions, because the whole conclusions actually inside your mind. So what's on your mind when you hear or read the word criticism or the word literature? That perhaps becomes the conclusion, the real conclusion for you, because my definition and your definition can be different, depends on the thing that can be regarded as what is literature itself and what is criticism. Something like that. And I think I'm going to switch my language from English, because I think it is also important for me to express my what is that? My side in English and also in my national language. So I think now I'm going to switch my explanation into bahasa Indonesia. Ya, baik. Saudara-saudara, jadi itu adalah dua penjelasan yang mungkin relatif berbeda tapi saling bersinggungan satu sama lain. Ketika kita berbicara mengenai sastra, apa itu sastra, dan berbicara apa itu kritik, dua-duanya saling seolah-olah tidak berkaitan, tetapi keduanya dikaitkan dengan bahwa kehadiran kritik itu satu hal yang natural, yang alamiah, karena kita ingin meyakini bahwa sastra itu ada dan kita ingin memahami bahwa apa yang di dalam sastra itu. Jadi seperti itu. Jadi termasuk di dalamnya nilai itu dieksplorasi. Kenapa misalnya karya ini disebut sastra, karya itu tidak disebut sastra? Kan tadi dijelaskannya seperti itu sama saya ketika saya menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Nah, itulah yang kemudian menjadi dasar dari seorang ahli sastra yang bernama Romeo untuk menuliskan bahwa the art folds of literary study, ada tiga cabang di dalam kajian sastra atau ilmu sastra ini. Yang pertama adalah literary theory, yang kedua literary criticism, yang ketiga adalah literary history. Jadi dari pembahasan apa itu sastra, apa itu kritik, akhirnya kita bisa menemukan jalan untuk melihat bahwa ketika kita berbicara mengenai hakikat sastra, apa itu sastra, apa itu apa itu yang kemudian disebut dengan teks sastra, bagaimana teks sastra ini bekerja dan sebagainya, itu yang kemudian yang dijabarkan oleh literary theory. Tetapi ketika kita sudah berangkat atau sudah masuk pada tataran bagaimana cara memahami teks dengan rangka teori tertentu, nah itu adalah bagian dari literary criticism. Dan terakhir literary history adalah jelas ketika kita ingin memahami rangkaian cerita sejarah sastra. Bagaimana genre di tiap masa itu berubah, atau bagaimana nilai di tiap masa itu berubah, gitu. Nilai atau value atau kemudian rasa, selera, taste, ya, yang sudah saya eksplorasi dari tadi tentang taste ini, selera dari masyarakat yang notabene mungkin saja bisa berbeda antara satu masyarakat dengan masyarakat yang lain. Dan perjalanan panjang dari sejarah taste ini, sejarah dari dari genre misalnya, perubahan bentuk, itu adalah yang terkait dengan literary history. Dan selanjutnya ini terkait dengan bagaimana kita bisa mendekati karya sastra. Tentunya lagi-lagi kita akan mencoba untuk menilai bahwa akan selalu ada satu standpoint, akan selalu ada satu titik di mana kita harus berpijak untuk mendekati, untuk memahami karya sastra. Itulah yang kemudian kita namakan titik itu sebagai pendekatan. Jadi pendekatan ini adalah bagaimana kita berpijak untuk melihat sesuatu. Seperti itu. Perspektif, point of view, a set of belief. Dan kritikus kenamaan dari Inggris bernama M.H. Abrams berusaha untuk menjelaskan secara detail terkait dengan pendekatan di dalam memahami karya sastra ini. Ada menurutnya dalam buku The Mirror and the Lamp, Romantic Theory and Critical Tradition, bukunya terbit pertama kali di tahun 1955 kalau tidak salah. Anda bisa membaca bahwa there are four critical approaches, or there are four basic critical approaches, dengan memetakan bahwa ada universe, ada author, ada universe, ada text, ada reader, maka kemudian ada universe, ada text, ada author, ada reader. Nah, dengan memetakan seperti itu, maka kemudian terbentuklah ada 4 pendekatan, 4 metode di dalam mengkritik atau menganalisis karya sastra. Apa saja itu? Yang pertama adalah ketika Anda mencoba berpijak di satu tempat, memiliki satu keyakinan bahwa karya sastra itu tidak bisa dilepaskan dari ruang lingkup sosial masyarakat, dari sejarah, dari nilai masyarakat, dari segala macam apapun yang terkait dengan masyarakat, maka dengan alam misalnya, maka Anda sedang berpijak di satu tempat yang namanya mimetic approach atau pendekatan mimetik. Yang kedua, kalau Anda memahami bahwa teks sastra tidak bisa dilepaskan dari penulisnya, karya sastra tidak bisa dilepaskan dari penulisnya, then it is going to be called as the expressive approach. Ini pendekatan ekspresif. Maksudnya adalah bahwa Anda meyakini, kita semua misalnya meyakini bahwa kalau tidak ada penulis, kalau tidak ada pengarang, mana mungkin karya sastra tercipta. Maka jalan utama untuk memahami karya sastra adalah dengan memahami pengarangnya, dengan memahami pikiran pengarangnya. Nah, ini adalah satu metode atau pendekatan yang kita sebut dengan expressive approach. Lalu yang ketiga, jika kita atau Anda misalnya meyakini bahwa nggak bisa misalnya cuma dikaitkan dengan masyarakat, cuma dikaitkan dengan penulis. Toh yang memberikan nilai, yang memberikan satu penilaian, yang memberikan satu penghargaan, yang memberikan satu komentar, rangkaian komentar dan sebagainya misalnya, itu kan membaca, bukan penulisnya. Penulis anggap saja mati. Masyarakat juga tidak, dalam konteks ini bukan masyarakat yang sebagai pembaca. Jadi intinya adalah pembaca. Maka kalau Anda berpikiran seperti itu, berarti Anda berpijak di satu tempat yang dinamakan dengan pragmatic approach. Perlu dibedakan di sini antara pragmatic approach dalam konteks kritik sastra yang diungkapkan oleh M.H. Abrams dengan mata kuliah pragmatik di dalam linguistik atau misalnya ilmu pragmatik di dalam linguistik. Ini ada perbedaan ya, ada perbedaan yang mencolok di antara keduanya. Jadi dan bukan kapasitas saya untuk menjelaskan itu. Yang jelas untuk menjelaskan pragmatik itu apa, tetapi yang jelas bahwa pendekatan pragmatik atau pragmatik yang dimaksud di sini adalah pendekatan sebuah cara, metode untuk memahami teks sastra dari perspektif pembaca. Nah, seperti itu. Dan yang terakhir, ketika Anda meyakini bahwa bukan, karya sastra itu tidak berkaitan dengan ruang lingkup sosial, tidak berkaitan dengan alam, karya sastra itu tidak berkaitan dengan penulis, karya sastra tidak berkaitan dengan juga dengan pembaca. Karya sastra ya karya sastra otonom. Karya sastra itu mandiri, hanya bisa dijelaskan dalam kerangka kualifikasi komposisi teksnya sendiri, mulai dari kalimat, kata, kalimat, ragam jenis ungkapan, ada figurative language, ada bentuk, ya, ada rima, ada rhythm misalnya, ada di dalam kalau di dalam fiksi misalnya ada plot, ada karakter, ada characterization, ada staging misalnya kalau dalam drama misalnya. Itu semuanya adalah ruang lingkup teksnya sendiri, tidak berkaitan dengan apapun di luar teks. Maka kalau Anda meyakini bahwa teks sastra itu cukup bisa dijelaskan hanya dengan ruang lingkup teksnya saja, maka Anda berpijak ke satu tempat yang namanya objective approach atau pendekatan objektif. Inilah yang kemudian kita namakan sebagai pendekatan yang otonom, murni, mandiri, melihat teks sebagai teks saja, melihat teks tidak berangkat dari apapun. Oke, itu basic critical approaches dari M.A. Abrams. Dan selanjutnya silakan dibaca saja, mungkin itu tambahan dari saya di bukunya, di introduction itu, yang terkait dengan apakah kritik dan penelitian itu ada perbedaan, bagaimana kemudian desain penelitian di dalam di dalam penelitian sastra, seperti apa desainnya dan sebagainya. Itu silakan dibaca saja. Ada video saya, sepertinya tidak akan terlalu mengeksplorasi lebih dalam tentang itu karena akan overlap dengan mata kuliah yang lain. Salah satunya dalam mata kuliah metode penelitian sastra yang mungkin akan baru bisa Anda jumpai di semester berikutnya, di semester depan, khusus untuk mahasiswa-mahasiswi sastra Inggris yang hari ini masih semester 5. Jadi semester 6 baru Anda bisa mendapatkan mata kuliah itu. Jadi silakan, itu pengetahuan tambahan, dibaca saja. So I think that's all for my video for now in terms of the nature of literature and the nature of realism. I hope you can get some of the things more and you can get more understanding on it. I mean, you can get more understanding on how we can understand literature from the very basic one, that is the writing itself, and then also you can go further to the context of how we can understand that writing itself becomes text, becomes more valuable according to the taste of the particular social class. And also that's why, because we want to understand the content of the literature itself, therefore we then now have to understand the criticism itself, how to criticize the text, how to analyze, how to explicate the text, and more particularly in terms of the theoretical standpoint. Later, in the next videos, I would like to explain how some basic approaches from the mimesis, for example, or from the basic thing of the theoretical standpoint. Particularly, we can go further to Plato's thought about literature. Then there will be more explanations on it. I would like to explain more about those things. So I think that's all for now. Terima kasih sekali lagi, di like dan di subscribe atau di subrek bahasa gaulnya. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya untuk menyimak video saya. Mohon maaf atas segala kekurangan saya, dan ditutup. See you next week. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.